Okay, we're answering some questions again, this time about GMTs and how to set them. But before we go into that, we will, as always, go further deep into it with our books. We're going to discuss the Rolex GMT and the Tudor GMT and how to actually use them. So while we are here talking about the Tudor GMT and various GMTs, we're going to start here with the granddaddy of them all, the Rolex GMT Master. The Rolex GMT Master book, in this case, was written by, well, Giorgio Mondani and Guido Mondani and so on. The Mondani group is actually very well known for getting awesome books together on watches and stuff. Now, we're looking over this because we want to look into the original, see, this is a really cool book, into the original GMT Masters. Here they talk about 1954, the 707 from Boeing was a new thing. Boeing and Pan Am went to Rolex to ask them to make a new watch for this modern aviation pilot. Now, what I find, okay, well, let's skip to here, okay? And this is why I find this kind of interesting. This is the Tudor GMT, and it uses an aluminum vessel, whereas the originals were bakelite, which is really cool, but it's a whole different material, has its own issues. And then the modern one is, of course, ceramic, which most of the sports watches are on as of today, for Rolex at least. Now, what's interesting here is if you look back at some early models, this one in particular, the look on that is far closer to that than it is to that. There are some differences, of course, but in general, the feel is kind of more like this than it is like this. This was a tool watch when it came out. It was meant for people who needed it for very specific reasons. In other words, telling time in 2 and then 3 different time zones. Now, both of these two watches were released in 2018 in Baselworld, and while this one was not unexpected because it's kind of, Rolex doesn't really play a wide field. It's just too big and legendary to do that. Tudor takes its chances, and we like Tudor. We really like Tudor because they're able to do things that others can't and don't and won't. They're able to take chances with their heritage, and they have a massive heritage. And they're actually playing very, very true to their heritage, which was making, based on what Hans Wilsdorf wanted, making watches that were accessible and reliable, while still being different from Rolex. Now, in the past, Tudor has been basically looked at as the less expensive Rolex model, and they kind of followed their lines together. That's not the case anymore, and now, while this is clearly connected to that, there are other models such as the Black Bay 58s, the Pelagos, and so on, are their own thing. And in a lot of ways, people consider Tudor the someone called it the secret handshake of watch guys, because the people who aren't watch guys are going to dismiss it. But the people who are watch guys understand that this is a really, really cool piece all on its own. And it means also that if you have this, that doesn't mean you can't have that, because they're two different watches in a lot of ways, even though in reality, yes, they're both GMTs. But that, okay, these are not owned by the same owner. This is owned by one friend. This is owned by another friend's son, actually. So they don't, a lot of people don't have both of them because you tend to wear one or the other. Me personally, when I first saw these in the showrooms in Baselworld, in the windows, and then on my wrist, I actually liked this one in terms of the way it looked. It was subtle, it was calm. I knew this one was just going to blow up the world in terms of people wanting it, and it might be too flashy and so on. Having said that, this one actually wears a little bit better to a lot of people than this one does, if you have the chance to do both. There are subtle differences. And obviously internally they are very different. Well, okay, they're not very, very different. There are certain key differences in functionality. They're pretty much the same. So anyway, the reason we're looking at Tudor right now is because you're going to find something new very soon, and we will show you what that is when we can. So there. So while we've got this watch, we're going to show you how we change our time zones and set our time zones, which isn't as simple as some people think. And we're going to do it in a very simple way. Let's say you just got the watch what you want to do is zero it out, make it midnight. And if remember that your home time is basically that 24-hour counter, which has a red stock and a triangle for hands. And after you unscrew the crown, you adjust that by pulling out 2 clicks. Then you go, so you're basically adjusting full time setting. What you want to do here is you want to move it to midnight. Okay, so you want to move it, that's 10, 11. You want to move it to midnight. And then you want to match what they would call the local time the same way, okay? There. Now notice that the local time goes along with the date, which is how you actually set the date, which is actually a bit more tedious than many people realize. But anyway, it is a solution, and it's a better solution, but still. Okay, so now let's say you you've bought this watch. This is new to you, lucky you, haha. And you want to set it to your home time. Your home time, let's say, will be Hong Kong. Hong Kong, it is now 3:14, so you set the whole, what you're doing, it's 3:14 in the afternoon, okay? So while this says 3 o'clock, if you look up here, if you look up there, that's 3 a.m. So you want to go to make it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like so. It is 3:15. There you go, okay? There. Now, let's say then you push the crown down, you screw it down. Now let's say you want to, okay, so it's right now, home time is 3:15, or just around 3, and there you match it with 3:15. Now let's say you're flying to Geneva. For us in Calibre, and for many of the watch geeks we know, we always know what time it is in Geneva. Geneva is always 6 hours, well, at this time of the year, it's 6 hours earlier than us. So again, working from this, you would put it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in Geneva now it is 9 a.m. or 9:15 in this case, okay? 9:15 a.m. Whereas in Manila it is, as we know, 3:15, which we put it back 4, 5, 6, there, okay? Now to adjust the local time wherever you are, you unscrew this, again, then you click it out once. Clicking it out once, let's say you're traveling to Qatar on the way to Geneva. Then what you do is you click it out, make sure it stays clicked out, then you go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the time in Qatar now. The home time is that, and then if you need to know what time it is in Geneva, while you're bleary out on a plane wondering what's going on, you just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back. There you go. And that's how we like to use it, because it kind of makes it simple for us. Having said that, a lot of people don't know how to use it, and they ask us, so we're trying to tell you. So there you go. We're probably going to do this again with something like the tachymeter and the pulsograph, because you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to use a pulsograph. Or the tachymeter, actually. The pulsograph is the doctor's one. The tachymeter is generally on for the chronograph stopwatches. We'll explain how to use that too, with a different watch. Thank you very much. So there it is. We started with a question about GMTs. We ended up with the start of the Rolex GMT Master. We went to the GMT Master 2. We talked about the Tudor GMT, which we really like. And we explained how we think they should be used. We hope you enjoy this. We have more answers later on. Let us know what you want to know about. Thank you very much for joining us again.